Welcome yogis, my name is Sara, and for today's class we're going to go through a full body stretch and strengthening flow. No props are needed for this class, but if you do have a block, it may prove helpful to have around. We're going to begin class today in a wide-legged child's pose. So when you're ready, from tabletop pose, bring your knees out as wide as it feels comfortable for you today. Toes to touch, settle your hips back to your heels, and extend your arms out long in front of you. When you arrive, take a moment to check in with your body today. Maybe do a scan from your fingers all the way to your toes, noticing areas that may feel more tightness or tension. Maybe pay some special attention to those areas throughout class today and focus your breath down into those areas to help promote them to loosen, to relax, to open. Throughout class today, if it's accessible for you, I invite you to cultivate slow, deep, steady breaths in and out through the nose. Let's connect here and take a breath in together, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Again, inhale through the nose and exhale through the nose. If at any point during class today you lose this connection to your breath, you can always come to child's pose. It's a resting pose that is always here and accessible for you. On your next inhale, let's come up to tabletop pose, hands and knees, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Let's move through a couple cat-cow stretches here. On your next inhale, drop the belly, lift the gaze, and exhale. Chin to chest, arch through the back, cat pose. Inhale. Drop the belly, lift the gaze, look up, and exhale, round in. Come back to a neutral spine, tabletop pose, and extend your right leg out behind you, ball of the right foot still on the mat, and move through some calf stretches here, just rocking back and forth. From here, we'll move into modified side plank, spin your back foot down, kickstand through the left leg and lift your right hand up to the sky. Your back foot should be parallel to the back edge of the mat. Maybe reach your right hand up and over, bicep by the ear. And release. Meet back in tabletop pose. We'll move to the other side, extend your left leg long behind you, ball of the foot on the mat, and move through your calf stretches. Spin that back foot down, parallel to the short edge of the mat, maybe kickstand back behind you with your right foot, and extend your left hand up. Modified side plank. Left hand can reach overhead, bicep by the ear, long side body stretch. and release. Back to tabletop pose. Tuck your feet, lift your hips up and back, and we'll come into our first downward facing dog. In this first down dog, maybe pedal through the feet. Start to open up through the calves. Pushing into all 10 fingers, nice flat back. Knees can always be bent, and heels do not have to be touching the floor. On your next inhale, lift your right leg up to the sky, bend through the knee, and open up through the hip. Come back to three-legged dog and bring that right leg forward in between your hands to set up for a low lunge. Make sure your knee is stacked over your ankle. Hands lift to the sky, stretch up. Grab onto your right wrist with your left hand and reach up and over for a little crescent twist. Nice side body stretch all the way down through the hip. Come back to center, frame the front foot with your hands, and start to shift the hips back for half splits. Straightening through the right leg, active through the right toes. Hands in line with your knee, and on your inhale, create a nice flat back, and exhale, fold over your right leg. Begin to walk your hands forward to frame your front foot, plant your left hand, and reach your right hand up to the sky for an easy twist. Option here to bend into your back knee and start to grab for that left foot with your right hand for a quad stretch. Maybe look over your right shoulder. Come back to center, and we'll meet in plank pose, stepping both feet back and moving through your first vinyasa. You can either lower all the way to the floor or halfway chaturanga, elbows tucked into sides. Inhale, low cobra or upward facing dog. And exhale, back to downward facing dog. Take a couple breaths here in your down dog. And for every vinyasa today, just choose what works best for you. You can always take a child's pose or stay in downward facing dog instead of the vinyasas. On your next inhale, lift your left leg up to the sky, three-legged dog. Bend through the knee and open up through the hip. Back to three-legged dog and bring your left foot forward between your hands and set up for low lunge on this side. Knees stacked over ankle, push into your foot as you lift your hands up to the sky. Grab onto your left wrist with your right hand and reach up and over for a nice crescent twist on this side. Come back to center. Bring your right hand to the mat, left hand lifts for an easy twist. You can add that quad stretch on this side if you would like, by reaching back to grab your right foot with your left hand and opening up through the shoulders, maybe looking over your left shoulder. Great, and release. Frame your front foot, step both feet back to plank, and move through your vinyasa. Exhale, lower. Inhale, low cobra or upward facing dog. Exhale, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, step your right foot through between your hands and we'll set up for high lunge this time. Keep the back leg lifted. Press actively down into both feet as you lift your hands up to the sky. Nice big bend through that front knee, knee stacked over the ankle. Now cactus through the arms and pretend there is a piece of fruit between your shoulder blades that you want to squeeze and hold there. Really strengthening through the shoulders here, active cactus. Now on your next inhale, straighten through both legs and reach both arms up to the sky. And exhale, bend through your front knee and cactus your arms. Let's move through a flow between these two poses. Inhale, straighten and lengthen through your leg and your arms. Exhale, bend and cactus. Inhale, straighten, and exhale, bend. Stay here with your bent knee and bring your left hand to the mat. Right hand lifts for an easy twist. From here, we will transition into side plank on the left. So bring both feet back to stack, or one can be placed in front of the other. You can also have your right foot on the mat for added support. From your side plank, we'll transition into forearm plank on the other arm. Bring your right forearm all the way down to the mat as you roll your feet to stack on the other side. This time your right foot is on the bottom. Left hand lifts to the sky. Now bring your left hand down into full forearm plank, rolling to the balls of both feet, holding here for 3 breaths. Great job. Start to walk your feet in and hike through the hips to come into Dolphin Pose. Your forearms are still in the same position as they were for forearm plank. Your head is lifted off of the mat. It's just like downward dog, except on your forearms. Holding here. Bring the hips back down, walk the feet back to come into forearm plank once again. Settle the hips down and come into Sphinx pose, pulling your chest forward. Hips on the mat, using your forearms to see if you can pull your chest a little bit more up. Crown of the head lifting. From here, bring your hands along your sides and push up and back into downward facing dog. Stay in this down dog, or you have the option to move through your Vinyasa. Come forward into plank pose. Exhale, lower. Inhale, low cobra or upward facing. Exhale, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, pull your left foot forward in between your hands and set up for high lunge on this side. Push into your foot, knee stacked over ankle as you reach your arms up to the sky. High lunge. Cactus through the arms and really squeeze through the upper back. Let's go through that flow on this side. Inhale, straighten through the legs, straighten through the hands up to the sky. And exhale, bend through the front knee and cactus your arms. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, bend. Inhale, straighten. And exhale, bend. With your knee bent, bring your right hand down to the mat, left hand lifted for an easy twist. From here, we will transition to side plank on the right, stepping your left foot back to stack on top of your right. Side plank, shoulders stacked, hips lifting. Let's move into forearm plank on the other side, bringing your left forearm down to the mat, fingers facing the top of the mat. Roll over to the other edge of your foot, left foot on bottom this time, still lifting through the hips and right arm to the sky. Bring your right forearm down as well. Roll to the balls of your feet and come into full forearm plank. Forearms should be about shoulder width distance and parallel to one another. Hold here for just 2 more breaths. Begin to walk your feet in, hike up through the hips and come into Dolphin Pose. Dolphin Pose is a great pose to build strength through the shoulders, preparing us for any arm balances or headstands in the future. Walk your feet back out to forearm plank and settle the hips down. Pull the chest forward and come back into your Sphinx pose, crown of the head lifting. Release down and push up and back, and we'll meet in downward facing dog. Option to stay in your down dog or take your vinyasa here. Inhaling forward to plank. Exhale, lower. Inhale, low cobra or upward facing. Exhale, downward facing dog. Good job, yogis. Take 2 breaths here in this down dog. On your next inhale, lift your right leg up to the sky, 3-legged dog. And exhale, step your right foot forward between your hands and set up for high lunge. Arms lift to the sky. Now airplane your arms back behind you as you begin to move your torso forward and down over that right leg. From here, we're going to begin to kick off from our back leg and move into Warrior 3, standing on the right leg. Left leg lifting. Your torso should be no further down than parallel to the floor. Arms can stay back in airplane, or for an extra challenge, bring your arms up and overhead. Bring your hands to heart center. Find a focal point as we move from here to bring our left knee into our chest, standing on the right leg. For an added challenge, try not to have the left foot touch the floor as you bring the left knee into your chest, standing at the top of your mat. From here, we'll move into Eagle Pose, wrapping the left leg up and over around the right once or twice. Reach your arms out in front of you, identify your left arm and swing it underneath your right, bending at the elbows and maybe wrapping near the wrists, hands to touch. Settle the hips down. Keep that focal point to help with balance and breathe here. Now from here, we're going to keep our eagle arms, but slowly begin to unwrap our left leg from the right and come back through Warrior 3 with eagle arms, extending the left foot back behind you, hovering above the mat, torso parallel to the earth, and gently step your left foot back to come back into high lunge with your eagle arms. Begin to lift your eagle arms toward the sky and unwind, opening up into Warrior 2. Spin down through the back heel, parallel to the short edge of the mat. Big bend through the front knee and arms extending out wide. Inhale, reverse your warrior. Left hand lifts, right hand down. And windmill your hands down to the mat. Step back into plank pose and move through your vinyasa. Exhale, lower. Inhale, low cobra or upward facing. And exhale, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, lift your left leg to the sky and bring your left foot forward between your hands to set up for high lunge on this side. Come up into your high lunge, arms lift. Now bring your arms back behind you to airplane once again, moving your torso down and forward over your left leg. We're gonna hop up into Warrior 3 on this side, lifting the right leg off the ground. Strong through that left leg. You can keep your arms back behind you, bring them to heart center, or for an added challenge, reach them up and overhead, biceps by the ear. Begin to find that focal point once again as we transition to standing on our left leg with our right knee into our chest. Hands to heart center. Begin to bring that right knee up and over the left, wrapping once or maybe twice to come into eagle on this side. Reach your arms out in front of you, identify your right arm and swing it underneath your left, bending at the elbows, maybe wrapping at the wrists. Settle the hips back. Eagle pose. Stay here for one more breath. Keep your eagle arms as you begin to slowly unwind your top leg and bring it back behind you for Warrior 3 with eagle arms. Gently set the foot back down on the mat to come back into high lunge and lift your elbows toward the sky. As you lift, separate the hands, reach up and open up into Warrior 2 on this side. Spinning down through the back heel, big bend through the front knee, and inhale, reverse. Left hand lifts, right hand back. Windmill the hands down to the mat and move through your vinyasa. Plank pose, exhale, lower. Inhale, low cobra or upward facing, and exhale, downward facing dog. From this down dog, on your next inhale, lift your right leg up to the sky, and exhale, bring your right knee just behind your right wrist. We'll set up for Pigeon Pose on the right. Your shin can be parallel to the front edge of the mat, or it can be tucked in quite close to the midline. Square through the hips. Maybe check back to your extended leg behind you to make sure the foot isn't sickling. You can stay up high in your pigeon pose or begin to fold forward, come down to your forearms, or maybe rest your head on the mat. Come back to your hands if you weren't there already and push up and back, returning to your three-legged dog with your right leg lifting. Begin to bend through the knee and open up through the hip. Stay here, or if it's in your practice to flip your dog, I invite you to bring your right foot back behind you, extending long through the left, and lifting your right hand up and overhead. Come back to center, downward facing dog. Come forward into plank and move through your vinyasa. Exhale, lower. Inhale, low cobra or upward facing. And exhale, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, lift your left leg to the sky, and exhale, left knee behind left wrist, set up for pigeon pose on the other side. Settle your hips down, square through those hips, maybe checking back behind you at your extended leg to make sure your foot isn't sickling. Stay lifted or take similar variation to what you did on the other side. 5 breaths here. Slowly come back up to your hands. Begin to lift back up into three-legged dog with your left leg extending up. Bend through the knee and open up through the hip. If you flipped your dog on the other side, I invite you to do so here by bringing the left foot down behind you, extending long through the right leg, and bringing your left arm up and over, really opening up through the heart. Slowly come back to center, stay in downward dog, or move through your final vinyasa. Exhale, lower. Inhale, upward facing. And exhale, downward facing dog. From here, look forward and begin to walk your feet toward your hands. Coming to Ragdoll Fold at the top of the mat, separate the feet hip width distance. Maybe grab onto opposite elbows and sway side to side. Now from here, begin to separate your feet a bit further than hip width distance. Turn your toes to face out, heels in, and settle your hips down into your malasana or yogi squat. Hands come to heart center. Your heels do not need to be flat on the mat here, they can be lifted. Push into your elbows to help guide your hips and knees open a bit further. If Bakasana or crow pose is in your practice and you would like to move into that here, please feel free. If crow pose is something you would like to try, I will guide you through some simple beginner options that you have for this pose. Place your hands flat on the mat about shoulder width distance apart and spread your fingers out wide. Now keep your hands and your feet where they are, but lift the hips way up toward the sky, bending the knees and lifting your heels off the floor so just the balls of the feet are down. Gently press the knees into the backs of your triceps and begin to shift your weight into your fingertips. You can pick up just 1 foot at a time off the floor to play around with how the weight distribution feels. You can always have the elbows bent. That helps with balance. Use your core to really draw in toward the spine and find that lift in the center body. Always keep your gaze forward to help maintain balance. One thing that may prove helpful in practicing for crow pose is to start out with your feet on a block. That little extra lift will help get your knees up to the part of your tricep where they want to be in order to start playing around with lifting 1 foot up and then the other. Once you find that connection and that center of balance, you will eventually be able to lift both feet up off the ground at the same time and maintain that balance on your hands. But for now, just play around with lifting 1 foot up and then the other. It's a great place to start. Wherever you are at, we'll slowly meet back into our squat pose. From our yogi squat, we're going to release our hips down all the way to the mat. Bring your shins up parallel to the mat and we'll move into boat pose. Hands can be behind your thighs for support or extended out in front of you. It's important to keep a nice straight spine here. Chest lifting. Now exhale down into low boat. Straighten through your legs, hovering your feet just a few inches off the mat, your hands just a few inches off the mat, and your head just a few inches off the mat. 1 breath here. And release all the way down to the mat. Great job, yogis. Bring your knees in and give yourself a squeeze. Grab each knee and maybe open them up to the sides, towards your armpits, stretching through the hips. From here, you can stay or reach down between your knees to grab the outside edges of your feet, lifting the soles of the feet to the sky for happy baby. Maybe rocking side to side to release the lower back. From here, we'll move into a simple spinal twist, keeping your right knee in toward you. Extend your left leg long on the mat. Squeeze the knee in and exhale. Bring the knee all the way over toward the left. Open up through your right arm as you look out past your right fingertips. Come back to center, switch sides. Right leg extends long. Bring your left knee to hug in. And exhale, guide that left knee all the way over to the right. Left arm extends out long and gaze over your left fingertips. Come back to center and we'll set up for our final resting pose, Savasana. Extend both legs long on the mat, arms out wide, palms face up. Maybe close down through the eyes or have a soft gaze. Begin to scan the body. See areas that might feel a little bit more open now than when we started class. Take a long, deep inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Let it all go. Again, inhale through the nose and exhale through the mouth. Take these next few moments in stillness. As always, yogis, I invite you to stay here in this resting pose for as long as your day allows. If you're ready to come back to your day, begin to gently wiggle through the fingers and the toes. Maybe start to roll through the wrists and the ankles. Take a long, full body stretch, reaching the arms up overhead. Stretch out through the toes. And roll over to your right side in the fetal position, using your bicep as a pillow. Maybe ask yourself here, with what energy would you like to return to the rest of your day? Begin to push into your hands and come up to seated. Eyes can remain closed, or you can have a soft gaze. Hands come to heart center. Bow your head to your hands in gratitude to yourself for taking this time today. Thank you so much for joining me. Be well. Namaste.